Good morning.
I can't believe another week has gone by that fast. I just snapped my fingers and here we are again. So it's really a joy to see all of you here today. And again, we are lighting a candle, a world that works. The point of this whole conversation is to bring some sense of stability, empowerment, normalcy, think in terms of common courtesy and common decency and all those things that we used to think were so common that we may have to look a little bit harder for today, but I say they're still out there, okay? All of that said, we every week engage, and this is totally unscripted. We don't really have any idea where we're going, and up to this moment, I haven't had a plan for what we would talk about today, except to say, when it's really, really loud out, and there are some very major voices fighting for control of a narrative, how do you make that go a direction that doesn't seem to be working to a direction that does seem to be working? So again, I'm Bill Carell, and I want to welcome everybody one more time. Thank you for tubing this up and watching this video. We'll talk for about a half hour, and then we'll sign off and then do it again. So we'll start from here. We'll go around and introduce ourselves. And Vanessa, can we lead off with you? The question, again, is if you're in a situation where there are two opposing viewpoints trying to control a narrative, and you think there might be another possibility or another set of possibilities, how do we shift the focus so that a good one can come?
Sure. I'd love to go first. All right. Well, hi, everyone. So Vanessa S. Lewis, and I'm a marketing copywriter, I like to say by day, and a freelance writer at night, and just an all-around curious person. I love to have great conversations like this podcast involves with what I consider to be great people. And, we have some really invigorating conversations at times, and it's just such a joy. I love getting to hear what everyone else has to say. So that said, I'm just going to say, you know what, Bill, I also identify as a Christian. And so we have this saying, and just talking about, really what's kind of weighing over everyone's heads right now, I think it's safe to say, is just the political landscape. And, no matter who becomes president of our country, we just believe that Jesus is king over everything. So, and even if someone doesn't consider themselves a Christian or even believe in God, there is, I think we all can believe that there is some kind of higher power and something that created this universe around us. And that's really what's ultimately in control. So that's really, to answer your question, that's where I look. When there's differing viewpoints and there's people, whether it's the media or even within my own circle, and I hear arguments and I hear people trying to vie for their own point of view, I just like to back up and just, look at the big picture. And that just helps me to take the focus off of the details, take the focus off of, it just helps me to look up and to just, look even more to an eternal perspective and just realize that, again, whatever our beliefs are, I think we can agree on the fact that we're all just these little blips, the drops in the ocean, and we're just here for a time, and we're just, whatever experience we're in right now too, I think that's really exciting. Before we started recording this morning, we were all sort of talking about the idea that we're, why, I'm sure we've all wondered, why are we here right now in 2020 with all the craziness that we've experienced? And I think also there's a reason for the reason why each one of us are here right now to experience this world as it is right now. And that's just the perspective that gets me through. So thank you.
Great thoughts. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Tina?
Yes. So ditto to what Vanessa with, I'm a Christian as well. And I see the differing views and I have my own views. I voted for who I voted for. And if somebody has a different opinion than me, I respect them. And I don't get into a conversation of arguing or saying harsh words. I think what's lacking today is civility. And it's basic respect towards one another. I've seen the hatred online. I have decided that I just remove people when I see all political crap on social media, the negativity. I just remove them. And it's okay. It's okay. And I'm going to align myself with the people that share my values, share my values, and I look at their character, and if it's not aligned with who I believe in, I'm not going to associate. And that might be too direct, maybe, but I've just that's what I've decided to do. And we are here for a certain period of time, and yeah, we don't control things. Things are out of our control. We can't control the outcome of this political. There is a higher power. There's God. God already knows how this is all going to turn out, my opinion. But I see the people, how they want to control the situation. And we can't sometimes. So that's my opinion.
So I had to take the phone call because my van is in the shop and I need to have it this afternoon. And so I really apologize. I caught the gist of what you were saying. And your approach has been to be more introspective and to remove the discordant views so that you don't have to experience that.
Right. I'm removing toxicity.
Okay. Perfect. And it's a great answer. So Ken, we're actually talking about, whatever conversations are out there right now, what and how do we elevate them or change the direction or cause people to listen in a way that they're open to having something else be present?
So I'm going to give Vanessa a quote that she triggered with what she was saying. You are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. And so I'll start there. But no, the other thing actually, what's been interesting to me is, so I'm always interested in looking for questions that will lead to embracing complex problems that cannot be answered with a simplistic, mindset. There's too much complexity. There's too much depth. So the question I've come up with is based on business, which is what leadership style would best serve us moving forwards. And, behind all of this, I'm watching the way everybody's responding to the political environment and thinking just in terms of business. If your leadership style is scarcity minded and us versus them, that's going to lead to attracting a certain type of culture and community around your business in a certain way that you respond. And, if you have the Dan Sullivan approach, which is collaborative and solve your competitors' problems for them, which is an abundance mindset, there's plenty to go around, let's elevate each other. That's going to attract a different way of approaching things. So I'm just watching how this plays out and a lot of the dialogue around it and the justifiable emotion that's caught up in this, that's causing people to have their responses. It's just, how do we make our decisions in a way that reinforces the type of leadership that will best serve us moving forwards, regardless of their view. To me, it's about how they're leading, not what they're saying, or even, it's just, we're never going to agree on things. We can't. We all have different values and different priorities. So, so I'd rather understand all of the views as best I can and have leadership that wants to work together to find, outcomes that serve us all, as best as possible. It's like, what was that quote about negotiating? The best negotiation is where everyone finally agrees, but no one's really happy.
Equally upset or equally unsatisfied or whatever it is.
Yeah. It's challenging,
So the interesting part of all of that is that we came through the 1990s, and we had some of the most brilliant human beings on the planet write books, put together self-help programs, all sorts of different ways to steel your mind against the negative thoughts that the world is going to be bringing to you to review sort of 40 to 60,000 times a day. And with that said, as we go forward here, and we're thinking in terms of, I like what you said about a leadership model, and there are two key components to leadership that are not present when leadership is not present. And I'm kind of interested in what your thoughts might be in that area. But I say that the two things that are present in a leadership model is powerful listening, and then powerful speaking. And I think those two things allow for an alignment in a different direction than things were going to go anyway. So the leadership element here, along with looking inward and actually taking some time to build yourself a safe space to operate for a while there's a storm going, all of these things are kind of interesting. And I'm wondering, what's the next level of coming out to shift the whole conversation and have it be over that it's us against them? And that we all start to realize that, the Taoist and the Buddhist, notion that we're all one. This universe exists because we are here, not in spite of the fact that we're here. This is a universe that exists only because we are here and we're part of it. So really, really appreciating these comments.
Can I just ask a question? Can you repeat the quote? You said you are not just a drop in the ocean, you are...
The entire ocean in a drop.
That's right. Okay, the entire ocean.
Bill, can I have a turn?
It's your turn.
Thank you.
Because what I really wanted to do was give a shout out to Vanessa, because she actually has a really interesting article in the current issue of Epic called Depolarizing Conversations.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah. So, and what made me... And actually, Vanessa, you want to go on our Facebook, and because Samantha was talking about the article this morning on our Facebook Live, and one of the acronyms she brought up was THINK, in regarding conversations. Think before you speak.
Yeah.
The acronym. So, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And that was just one of the issues, one of the ways to deal with these conversations that she brought up in there. So I thought it was an interesting place for people to turn to for other, because there were a lot of acronyms, because we were talking about it before she wrote the article, and actually it stemmed from our conversations too, that these were necessary and maybe different ways to look at having conversations with other people. So, and then I also wanted to say that for my purposes, I was doing, on election night especially, I was like one of those things that flashed on my phone and said, there's like a sit-in kind of thing going on right now. So it was actually, conversations and music and stuff like that to help people de-stress during the stressful time. So it was fun and interesting and not in your face kind of things about what was going on. Yeah. So I could because you can get that anywhere. So I decided to do a sit-in and light a candle and just know that in my mind, no matter what the outcome is, everything is okay. It will all work out, and it's how it's supposed to be. So
exactly.
That's how I changed the weather too, by the way.
It's a great formula, isn't it? Yeah. So anything else, Lisa?
Nope, that was
it. So in terms of, we've got two antithetical conversations going on that have thousands of subsets of information, real, imagined, and untrue, okay? Everywhere. So now the question is it even a priority to people that we get along? Is it relevant to people's lives at the moment because they can close their doors, they can turn the TV set off, they can stop looking at social media, they can delete all of their friends that don't agree with them, they can pray to God, and they can retreat into a space where there's a sensation of at least it's a little more quiet than it was before. So my question is about what does it take for a new idea to come forth from people who are obviously intelligent folks taking those steps to have just a little bit more peace and quiet in their lives so they could actually hear themselves think. What does it take before there starts to be this groundswell of what we're doing is not what we need to be doing, and what we need to be doing is this, to a point where it's a conversation that is listenable, where people have got the ability to question and understand. And as I said before, the two of the three pillars of leadership, in my opinion, are strong listening, strong speaking, and then strong action is the third one. If you want to have a stool to sit on, it's got three legs. Those three things being present, it doesn't matter who's speaking and who's listening. Leadership occurs in a group where there is a consensus being built and there's a direction that's being, that's being taken, and ground is being taken. You have this opportunity together that's not there apart. So leadership has to be a group function. That's what I say. So with that said, a different kind of leadership, not one that's polar right, polar left, polar whatever. There has to be somebody who's basically saying, we need to move forward from here and not bring rocks, bricks, and Molotov cocktails. We need.
Right.
I'm wondering, do these other conversations have to sufficiently burn themselves out or get to the point where this behavior is so intolerable to people that they demand something different? I don't know. I'm very interested in what your thoughts are on that aspect if you think it's relevant. And that's for anybody who wants to go.
I think there's always, you have to recognize it's situational awareness. I mean, the place we're in right now is kind of like if there was just a giant, explosion, the hospital's not going to be thinking about streamlining its administration processes. It's going to be treating the crisis, and we're kind of in that place right now. So thinking about what's on the other side of this is going to be a little challenging because we don't know yet, So it's more now the hospital, after the crisis happens, they can go back and reflect on how they did. And as long as they're clear on, if their question is, how could we have saved more lives? Now they can go back and look at the flaws with some clarity. And, we talked about it time and time again. Every system is perfectly designed to deliver the result it's currently delivering. So if you get a result you don't like after you deal with it, now you can go back and see if there's a way that you can make the system better so it delivers a different result the next time,
Yeah, and what if the system gets adjusted by the people who win? What if the system and its control and its direction has everything to do with who actually is the loudest person in the room? Or the person who's inspiring the most fear, or the person who's inspiring the most negative reaction internally, where people are not willing to risk and take chances. First of all, opinion-wise, because we all want to be liked. And if we say something that is potentially unlikable by some people, living with that result isn't something that we didn't get out of bed this morning to have an argument with somebody, most of us.
Right.
There are some people that do, okay? Unfortunately. So the question that is here, and I think you're pointing to it, Ken, do we have a system that is so complexly put in place with so many loose ends to it that there's no one particular string or even a half dozen particular strings that could be tugged on to pull it apart. And if that's so, I mean, staying with that as if it were an explanation for why we have so many things that don't make sense in terms of how our government behaves, in terms of how the courts behave, in terms of how police departments behave, in terms of how poor people behave, in terms of how rich people behave, in terms of how everyone behaves. It makes sense to them at some level, for some reason, and for their part in the system. So my question comes back to, what sort of an event, what sort of a conversation, what sort of an elevation, what sort of something makes a difference? I don't know, Christians, is it time for Christ to come back? You know what I'm saying? What is the thing that it's probably outside of our ability to reason or predict it? However, I do think something's coming.
Yeah, I agree. Something is coming. I don't know what it is, but regardless of who wins, something is coming. And, I look at, Ken, when you talk about leadership, I'm looking for a leader that inspires. I'm not looking for a leader that is creating fear. The pandemic is serious. A lot of people have passed away, but I'm not going to lock myself in the house and stay away. I will exercise precautions. I will protect myself and I will protect the people that I'm with. And so it's basic respecting, it's being civil, it's listening, understanding, it's being kind. I love to think, it's being kind to others, okay? Not pushing your agenda on someone else and being bullied. There's a lot of bullying going on, okay? That you're afraid to share your opinion without being bullied. Scary. It's very scary. However, if you think that, it has to do with your mindset. Am I going to have fear in my mind? Or am I going to go out there and still be with people and at the end, everything's going to be okay. Like, this was said, everything's going to be okay, but we have to believe it. We got to think it. It's going to be okay. Whatever the outcome is, okay, you attract what you put out there. And too many people are putting out negativity, putting out the fear, putting out it's going to be dark for the rest of the winter. Really? That's not my belief.
I think fear is healthy. It's just, it's keeping it in a balanced proportion. If we lived our lives without fear, we wouldn't live very long. It's just a physiological response. So, but then,
true.
And
True.
For each of us, I know as an entrepreneur, I've lived with fear and, risk assessment, and, it's terrifying. The choices you have to make, there's this gut wrenching fear. And I pay attention to that because it's a signal that this is something I need to think through more fully, and recognize the fact that I might actually be hurt. And worse for me has always been hurting someone else, that I'm going to make a leadership decision that's going to have a consequence on someone beyond me, and I think, dealing with specifically this, the COVID situation, I wonder how many people, their fear isn't even so much for themselves. It's for the impact that they could potentially have unintended, on other people. And, and then people get very upset when they feel that, their view of that, their actions isn't being embraced by others. So then they get louder, and, and that's when you have the polarization that we're having now. Right. But I think I always get a little concerned when people are talking about the fear that's not the center of gravity. It's our understanding of fear and the value it brings, and then where it can tip into no longer bringing value, but instead, paralyzing us or creating problems or whatever. Too much of it or not enough of it is not going to be good for anyone.
Right. And I do agree with you about the fear, that it's good to have fear. Like when I was in my corporate job, okay, I was sick of it. I was afraid to leave Okay. But if I didn't have that fear, I probably would have still stayed there. And I just took a leap of faith and I quit my job and I became an entrepreneur. Fear was all part of it on why I stayed stuck in that job. No. Okay. But then I had to shift my mindset to think differently. Okay. And if I stayed in fear, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So we're getting close to the top of the half hour here. I really think this is a stimulating conversation. And what we've been talking about so far has to do with, and I think we can have a lot of fun in the next half hour. But if you stop and think about what's going on with Facebook, and what if every single person is doing exactly the appropriate thing that they should be with regard to their posts? That they're for this person, they're against that person, they're name calling, they're race baiting, whatever, it's like, what if this is the right thing for them to do right at this minute? What if they're just being human beings? What if there's no right and wrong? There's only their perception of how they, like as John Lennon said, whatever gets you through the night, right? Maybe this is the night that has to come before people start to get to a point where they have some healthy questioning of what their input is. And I want to leave you with one thought before we go to the other side. There is a gentleman that did an expose on 2016's election where people on Google and Twitter, there were about 20 million people that received a message to go and vote. All of those people were Democrats. That message did not go to anybody that their data said was either an independent or a Republican. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but what an interesting thing, especially after last week's conversation about the social dilemma and what we've given over in terms of control of where our information comes from. So if we can all sign off very quickly, I'm more than happy to fire this baby back up on the other side.
You've been listening to Lighting the Candle, A World That Works, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can hear us at exvadio.com/podcasts, Apple Podcasts app, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts.